Hello guys, welcome back to a brand new video on Lexalexus. We are coming back after a weekend of FA Cup action, so a little bit of a break from the channel, but we're resuming back with some score predictions in the Championship, and we've got lots of football coming up in the next couple of weeks or so this is going to be a really competitive time for the Lexalexus Prediction League. And speaking of that, I've just posted an update of the Lexalexus Football Prediction League. I think it's looking a little bit interesting near the top of the table. I'm currently winning it at the moment, but there is no guarantee. I'll give a shout out to GHGN, who is a regular viewer here. He scored 20 points last week, and someone just needs to score that, and automatically my position on the table will be in jeopardy. So if you guys want to try and score as many points as Johnny did, please make sure you leave your score predictions in the comments down below, and that is how you will get your points. I don't think I'm going to score that many, but I'm going to give it a go this week. If you guys enjoy what you see, please smash the like button. It really does help. I think 50 likes will be amazingly appreciative. Please do hit the subscribe button too, as we're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers. And please also share the channel too. All three of these things are free to do, and they really help. Without any further ado, let's start predicting week 27 of the Championship. What a game to commence week 27. We have got Burnley and Sunderland. We have got Burnley second place in the promotion picture against Sunderland, who are fourth, who really want to be entering into that conversation as well. I mean, Sunderland can overtake Burnley with a win, but Burnley could find themselves 5 points clear if they win. This game is going to be so important regarding the promotion race. I wouldn't say it's a foregone conclusion, but it certainly sets the tone of what sort of promotion race we're going to get. If Sunderland do win, then we could really very well see a four-way competitive tie to try and get two positions where two would have to battle for the playoffs. And we sort of had a similar fate from last year, where we had four sensational teams in the Championship, and in the end only three of them went up. And quite frankly, we might see something a little bit similar, maybe not the consistency of those four teams, but we are looking at currently a top four that are kind of pulling away for the rest of the pack at this moment of time. Sunderland were one of the only two sides who have actually beaten Burnley this season, so they have beaten Burnley before. I don't think they'll do it again, however. As a prediction, I might sit on the fence of this one, and I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think it's going to be tight, as most Burnley games are at this point of time, but I can't separate them, so I'm going to settle it with a draw. Really big game regarding Wales. We've got the South Wales Derby, Cardiff and Swansea. We've got two banging games to really start off this weekend, and I've got to say, I think position-wise in the table, Swansea would be in a better position, but Cardiff have recently played a game against Watford, and they'll be disappointed they didn't win that game. They controlled that game for what has to be the majority of it, but Watford with a very late equaliser, as they've been kind of doing a little bit, Watford a little bit, getting these late goals. But Cardiff, would have really been invalued with 3 points, but they do have to settle for a draw. They only just above the bottom three currently, and they really ought to try and turn this drawing streak into a winning streak, because right now there's not so much space between them and Hull City at this moment in time. Swansea is certainly in a better position of the table, but consistency wise they're not doing that well at the moment, especially on the road. They've recently lost 4-0 to Portsmouth as of late, so I do think their away form, Swansea, has been a little bit patchy. But I do think this game here is going to be a classic example where a derby could, rid any sort of form going into the game. You could argue that that would be the case, but as a prediction here, this is going to be a tough one. I see this one being pretty low scoring, and I think based on the sides who I just think could pack a bigger amount of quality on a day, I think that might go to Swansea, I'm going to go for a 1-0 away victory to Swansea. I think it'll be close, but I think it's going to be the away side that just edge out here. Now with two teams who've recently changed their manager, we've got Millwall going up against Hull City. And I would arguably say that one of them has had better success than the other, and that is certainly with the away side Hull City. They are certainly improving their points return per game. They're averaging just above a point per game currently. So certainly the improvements are evident with this Hull City side, and it will be interesting to see if they can carry this on against a Millwall side under Alex Neil, where they've only picked up a point in his opening 2 games, a draw and a loss in his opening 2 games. Alex Neil will be wanting to get their first championship win. They could feel maybe a little sense of confidence now they've picked up their first win since Alex Neil has come in, beating non-league Dagenham and Redbridge in the FA Cup. As a prediction here, I think despite Mill having home advantage, they might be still back as the favourites, but I think Hull have been chipping away and being able to get in some really good points recently. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw. I think this could be another situation where I think Hull might be under the cosh a little bit, but I think they will still be able to find a way just to meticulously get an odd point here and there. I think they could nick something here, and it will just be interesting to see if they can build from this in the next couple of games coming up soon. But let me know what you think though in the comments. Next up is Plymouth going up against QPR. I've got to say this is a really important game, especially for Plymouth Argyle purposes. But I do find it very, very interesting about how they're going about their way. They have recently confirmed interest of the manager that will be taking over the club, and I've got to say performance wise have looked a little bit better. There's certainly a little bit more urgency, a little bit more energy in the way that they're playing at this moment of time. They got a really good win against Brentford in the FA Cup, and they are being rewarded with a fancy trip. Well, not even a trip, they are hosting Liverpool at Home Park, which I think is going to be a very, very interesting FA Cup game. And they followed up with a midweek game against Oxford, the game that was postponed due to Storm Darragh, and they managed to get a 1-1 draw. Maybe would have wanted 3 points, but considering Gary Rowett has really, really improved Oxford's form, I don't think that's a terrible result for Plymouth. But Plymouth really need to be looking at their home games as must-win games if they do want to have a chance, because unfortunately at this moment of time they are looking a little bit adrift with the other sides in the Championship. QPR are going to be a difficult side to get 3 points against as well. Only 1 defeat in 11, and they are really climbing up the table recently. Despite QPR crashing out from the FA Cup, I think they could really go on and feel a bit more refreshed having a longer resting period than what Plymouth are going to have here. And I think that period is going to give them a slight edge here. As a prediction, I'm going to go for a 2-1 away victory to QPR. But I do think this is going to be an intense game. Plymouth really ought to be trying to get 3 points here, but I just think the away side might have it just with a little bit more confidence currently going through their system. Next up, we've got Coventry going up against Bristol City. I do think this is going to be a peculiar game to watch, and a game which I'm hoping to see many, many goals. And I do expect both sides to pack a good amount of goal scoring form going into this. Coventry sort of averaging their form at the moment with Frank Lampard coming in. I think that's what you've got to expect. Coventry have proven to be a pretty inconsistent side this season. Bristol City, I gotta say, are showing a very similar point of form actually. Have been a little bit more or less inconsistent in sense, but they've picked up a win last time around in the Championship against Derby County. I think this game, however, I can see a lot more goals going in, and certainly games with Coventry are proving to be a little bit on the entertaining side, especially with their last Championship one to be winning the way that they did, and to see 2 late goals in the way that they did against Norwich. Heartbreaking, but certainly is going to sort of be an entertaining viewing here. Now, as a prediction, I think I'm going to go for these goals. Let's go for a crazy and fun 3-2 home victory to Coventry. I see lots of goals going in, and I can just see it maybe slightly favouring Coventry with them having home advantage. Let me know what you think though in the comments. Now, Derby and Watford are 2 sides who have played quite recently. Derby were involved in a FA Cup game that got postponed against Leyton Orient, and certainly were one of a few Championship sides who did lose out to lower league opposition. I didn't even mention Hull City. They lost out to Doncaster Rovers, of course. But for Derby County's point of view, they lost to Leyton Orient on penalties in the end. So they'll be hoping that they could carry, that behind them and can just carry on in their merry way. But their form in the league has been quite bad as of late, but they have had some tough away games, Derby. So this will be interesting to see if Derby can then bounce back and get a good result. Watford's away form has been very inconsistent, and that could pose to be a bit of a problem here. They did recently play away from home, Watford, of course, against Cardiff, as I mentioned. Did manage to nick a draw, despite not being in the game for most of it. And I do wonder how this game's going to pan out. Don't know if Derby are going to hold a lot of the ball and really, press Watford, or if they're going to allow Watford to get into it. Prediction-wise, I can't really edge them. I'm going to go for a draw. Again, 1-1 draw I'm going to go for this time. And yeah, I just do think Derby may be favourable with them being at home, but with Watford picking up so many points still, even not playing particularly well all of the time, I just think this will be another scenario where we get that. And Derby are just not picking up many points at the moment and not looking particularly confident, so I'll therefore go for a draw. Next up, we've got Luton and Preston. This one's going to be interesting because, of course, Luton have made the recent announcement of appointing a new manager in Matt Bloomfield. So they actually dismissed Rob Edwards during the break between the last game week and the FA Cup, which I didn't cover on the channel, but it did feel for Luton's point of view that their form was just so perilously bad and they were entering really, really close to the relegation zone, and it felt like that the board gave Rob Edwards, I had the feeling that they gave him so many chances, and despite everything he's achieved for them, to achieve their first Premier League season ever in their history, they've parted ways. They've got Matt Bloomfield going in, which is involved in a really exciting League One project on his own with Wycombe Wanderers, who has recently left the club for that. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how both parties get on with this. Now, if you remember the reverse fixture against Preston, Paul Heckingbottom recently joined Preston, so Preston were in a really similar position to what Luton are going to be in this game with a new manager, and Preston did have a managerial bounce getting a win against Luton last time around. I think we could see the same with Preston not being really consistent away from home. I think Luton could win this by 2-1, and I think it'll be a winning start for Matt Bloomfield. Luton, I think, will feel up for it, will feel refreshed, and Preston will just continue to expose their pretty poor away form. So that's how I feel with that game. But let me know how you think Matt Bloomfield will get on. What was your reaction to him being appointed in the comments? Next up, we've got Oxford going up against Blackburn. I've got to say, I think this one's going to be really interesting. Oxford at home have proven to be really, really good. And Gary Rowett has actually won both home games since joining, Oxford United. So I think this one will be a tough one for Blackburn. But Blackburn are coming off the bat for beating Portsmouth by 3-0. A brilliant result for Blackburn. Oxford themselves were also involved in midweek, of course, against Plymouth Argyle, drawing against them as well. I think they did take the lead initially as well. So I do find with both of them picking up a somewhat positive result. I think certainly Oxford are in a much more commanding position in the table for what Plymouth are currently. And Blackburn, with that win against Portsmouth, they really got themselves cementing themselves in the top 6, and they can carry that on if they carry some good form in the next couple of games or so. Prediction here, though, it's going to be a tough one because John Eustace likes to try and keep things tight and defensive. A draw wouldn't surprise me, and if I had a 0-0 draw wouldn't surprise me either, but for some strange reason, I think we could see quite a few goals going in this one. I'm actually going to go for a 2-2 draw. Maybe, just call me crazy, but I just think it'll be a draw, and for some strange reason, I just find with both these sides having their moments of quality going forward, I think we could see a good goal-scoring game. Let me know what you think, though, in the comments. Next is Portsmouth going up against Middlesbrough. Now, the thing I'm really interested about this game here is we've seen scenarios with Middlesbrough before where they've had to travel pretty big distances with their games, and they have struggled with their form. But they're facing a Portsmouth side at this moment of time where I do think they're going to be a little bit shaken of confidence. They recently played against Blackburn and lost out by 3-0. And I do think with the just a lot less recovery time for what Plymouth and Portsmouth are going to have, against Middlesbrough, I do think that's going to affect how the teams will set up. But yeah, I'm so conflicted because Middlesbrough are going through a pretty good unbeaten run at the moment, but lots of draws in that unbeaten run though, and it's a tough one. I mean, I've predicted 5 draws already. Do I go for another draw at this point? I think I'm going to, I'm going to be a bit brave. 6 draws is probably way too much, but I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw here. I can see Middlesbrough may be scoring first, but I can imagine Portsmouth just about doing enough just for them to get a draw out of it. And I believe they actually did get a draw last time round against Middlesbrough, so I think history will repeat itself here. Next up is Sheffield United going up against Norwich City. I think this one will be intriguing. Sheffield United have got to take advantage of this game week. We're seeing Burnley and Sunderland play against each other, where at least one will drop points. Both will drop points if they draw. And if Sheffield United win this one, they will comfortably secure their place, I would say, going above their ways in the promotion picture at this moment. And they've really got to make this advantage count. Norwich are in a position where they are lingering around that mid-table position. I'll be interested to see if they can recover from that heavy 4-0 defeat against Brighton in the FA Cup. Or Science is not going to be available as well, with him serving his ban starting from now. So certainly tough on Norwich going into this game. And I do think they could have the chance to score. But I just think with how strong Sheffield United have been at home, I've got to back them here. I'm going to go for a 2-1 victory to the Blades. But I do think this one will be an interesting game, more or less for the reasons that Sheffield United could really take advantage for the promotion race. Next up, we've got West Brom and Stoke. It's a tough one, this, to be honest. West Brom still, with a bit of chaos behind the scenes, still not having a permanent manager since Carlos Corberán departing to join Valencia. I do think it will be interesting to see how West Brom could respond for losing pretty heavily in the end against Bournemouth. Stoke were involved in a really good win actually for themselves against Sunderland in the FA Cup, and they'll be wanting to try and carry that on going into this game here. Mark Robins, I think, hasn't really done enough for me to give him his first impressions since coming in, but I think this one will be a really interesting test for him here. Prediction now. I've got to say low scoring. A draw wouldn't surprise me, but I've predicted so many draws. I think I need to be a bit brave here. I'm going to go for, why not? Let's go for a West Brom 1-0 win. Very low scoring, I think, but I just think out of these two sides, I think it's going to be a little bit more likely that West Brom, with the quality that they got on the pitch, I think they might just be able to get 3 points here. Our final game sees a classic Yorkshire derby of Leeds versus Sheffield Wednesday. Leeds, likewise with Sheffield United, have had a fantastic home record at this moment in time. But if there's any side who could really put a spanner in the works, it's Sheffield Wednesday. They're doing really, really well this season. They're in the top 10 currently and can certainly climb up the table with just a little bit more consistency on the road. I've actually been praising Sheffield Wednesday's away form, but then that's been a little bit inconsistent now, and then with their home form, they recently got involved with a draw against Millwall, so they'll be wanting to try and get a better result here, and I can see this game being a little bit intense. I think, we could potentially see, challenges like that could get red cards, for instance. I just think that this game is going to have that extra little bit of box office. I've got a sneaky feeling that's what we could get here. But as a prediction, ooh, goals. I think we'll see a lot of them. I'm going to go for a 3-1 home victory to Leeds. This will just be a really interesting test to see, can they move on from what they've been doing recently, and can they go into this game continuing on with their form. And right now, they're still top of the table, and right now they need to have that nerve to try and keep that first place position. So therefore, I'm going to go for a 3-1 win to Leeds. But let me know what you think though in the comments. So there you go, guys. These are all my predictions for this weekend in the Championship. As always, guys, let me know what your predictions are in the comments down below. I'm always interested to see your comments and your predictions. But that'll wrap it up for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. There will be a little bit more content creeping up on the channel. I could be a little bit bogged down with potential exams. I will find out if I've got 2 exams left or 1 exam left literally tomorrow after recording this video. So big couple of days for me. But I will keep this going. We've got a midweek game, I believe, actually, after this week as well. So lots to do, but lots of predicting and lots of fun football to watch, which is always fun. So if you guys enjoyed it, please smash the like button. It really does help. Please do hit the subscribe button too. And please share the channel too. All 3 of these things are free to do and they really help. Thank you guys for sticking to the end. And thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary for signing in with this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone. And I'll see you guys later.